When I became estranged, when the whole family abandoned me after I decided to walk away from my abusers and go to therapy and heal myself and protect my children and all of those things, when the whole group of relatives, because they're not my family would not do this to a child who has been abused, who grows up, starts telling, and they just wouldn't do this. They wouldn't abandon that child and or adult at that point. And more specifically, I don't think that guilt is what drives them. It could be, but I just don't think that, and I don't believe that. And the reason is because I used to, and I've had a lot of time to think about this, and I know you have too, Cindy. If they felt that guilty, then why are they standing with the people who caused the family the most pain in the world? My grandparents are long dead. Okay, fine. My mother is still causing problems. She's an embarrassment. This is a woman who's been arrested for selling fake handbags, and everybody knows about it. But they still stand with her. I don't think it's guilt. I think it's conditioning. And when I was a child growing up, I can understand why the interventions were so limited. First of all, this is at a time before family services, not that they're so great today, but they're a little better now, I guess. But this is a time when that didn't really exist. There weren't a lot of agencies around back then. When my mother dropped me out of the two-story window, she didn't call the police. She put me in a taxi. She kept it off the radar, and the family helped her. There's no question about it. They knew that there were things that were wrong. My mother was taking off for the weekend, leaving no money, no food behind, and me and my brother and my mother's son in the care of a 10-year-old babysitter who would then have to call her parents for help. And they couldn't do anything either. And I think the reason that they couldn't do anything was because if they did, my mother would have fired the little girl and the family, and they would have lost access to my brother and I, my mother's son and I, and they loved us and they cared for us, and this was the best that they could do. In the case of my aunt, how much could she intervene back then? My mother is a scary person. She is. She's a scary person. So what if they lost access to us altogether? That is what would have been a real threat to them. I can understand that. I can understand that when I was a child, their ability to intervene was limited at that time, given what the world was like in terms of social services and things like that. What I will never link guilt to, though, is when I became an adult and there was nobody who could keep me from my family except for my family itself. And when I stood up and I started talking about the things that had happened, and I was looking for healing and accountability, my phone was only ringing to attack me. That isn't guilt. That's conditioning.